Hey, it's Drybear. Today I want to walk you through the Wormhole challenge in Tower of Fantasy, as I get a lot of people in my chat talking about how this is a little confusing at first, but also I see people claiming that this mode here, Wormhole, is too difficult to clear. So I want to give some tips on how you can clear it, how to use the buffs properly to get yourself through it, and also all the rewards you can get from clearing the Wormhole. So let's go. But first, if you have any questions or comments for me, you'll find me live every day on twitch.tv/Drybear. Who knows? I might even be streaming right now. So first thing, you bring up your menu, you go to challenge, and you see Wormhole down at the side here. This has a reset of every 5 days. It'll reset. And it functions kind of like a roguelike or a roguelite would. So you go in, you unlock a certain difficulty, and then you go through this difficulty and you have a full run of the ones that we have now for Hydra. It is 8 levels, so 8 instances that you'll run through, and you'll gain buffs along the way and get stronger. Once you die, it's over, and you have to kind of maintain your HP as you go through. It has a ton of really cool rewards. Not only does it unlock these, whatever you have your current shop points at for your rarity, it unlocks those, and then you'll get a bonus at the end of the cycle, but it also unlocks shop items as well. And you'll see those listed in the shop here. When you get a certain amount of cumulative points in the Wormhole, you'll unlock a free box it's like a reward for clearing the Wormhole. That gives you a good amount of chunks. And then you have another one that will cost a dark crystal, but at a reduced price. It gives you a bunch of really good stuff. And it's a limit 1 purchase. Both of these unlock when you clear the Wormhole, so it's super important to do. Now, for whatever reason, it won't let me show you this because I've already cleared it, but you'll have 8 levels that you'll go through and select the buffs. So I'll put on some footage on screen of the runs that I was doing, so we can talk about how to clear the Wormhole and what you should be looking for. So you'll load into the first level as whatever weapon set you select. It'll ask you to set your relics. Using relics here is super crucial. You can get a lot of extra damage or CC out of your relics, so make sure you're using those. And then you basically have 5 minutes to clear the floor and get on to the next floor. You'll find these little challenge icons on the ground that give you extra time. And the biggest thing I'll recommend with the Wormhole is just skip all the melee mobs, the single mobs. Any mob that has a shield on them will be an elite mob. The bigger mobs, you know these from questing around the world. And these are the ones that you want to clear. They give you the biggest progress inside the Wormhole, but they also drop those roguelite buffs that make your character stronger. And you'll have to decide which buffs you need most, depending on what your character build is. I'm running a Fortitude build here with Huma, Meryl, and Coco Ritter. So I need more damage than I need defense. And so I go through picking all of the damage buffs, except for the 1 damage buff that increases your damage taken. Just everything else here. So you see these two, both clone commanders are the elite ones. So you'll want to work your progress up to 100%, but get these runes. Every time you stack one of these buffs up to 4, so you get duplicates of it, you get a nice little buff bonus from it. So just make sure you're picking the same ones and clear it out. Another tip that I'll give you is that once the floor percentage reaches 100, all the mobs die, which means if you're looking to get HP or get buffs from something, you'll want to be in combat with whatever you want the buffs from before the round ends. So actually, I only have enough. I'm at 81% on screen here. I only have enough progress to kill 1 more elite before it'll reach 100% and everything will die. So what I like to do is I'll grab as many of the elites that I can. I see another Wraith over here. You want to get them both in combat, and now that they're both in combat, I can kill the first one. But if they're in combat with you, when you get 100%, they'll instantly die, and you can see both dropped the blessing rune, which will allow me to stack up the damage buffs. And then bam, you're on to the next floor. Use as much of the time as you can. I highly recommend skipping every small mob and just going for elites. That's all you'll need. Be careful of the edges because you can knock the mobs off and you'll lose the blessing rune. And for some of the boss fights, you actually do need as many blessing runes as you can get. Stack everything up, do some AoE depending on your build, and just make sure that you're getting those blessing runes up. The smaller mobs give a small amount of progress, but they do drop regen orbs, and your HP it continues from level to level. So until that 8 level run is done, you actually will maintain the same HP. you get 80% reduction on healing yourself. So those regen orbs are actually quite valuable. But you can also bring a healing weapon. And then what I like to do as I'm going through, you know, if you're running Nemesis, you can do dodges to heal yourself up. Coco Ritter, you summon your bee or put up the healing order, whatever healing weapon you have, just to kind of tick your HP up as you're going through, and then do the same thing when the round ends, because you have this 1 minute timer, but during that time, you can be healing yourself up with your weapon so that you keep your HP high for the rest of the run. And the 5 minutes does go by fast if you're not being efficient with your time. So the more you can kind of stack up the elites to clear them all at once, it saves you a good amount of time and gets you the buffs at the same time. And of course, like I mentioned, if you get to high percentages, you can clear more than 100% and still get the buffs as long as you're being efficient. Every 4 levels, you'll face off against a boss. It'll tell you the weak point of the element, and for the run that you're making, you really want to make sure you're using the elements that are strongest, and then you'll just fight the boss. There actually is a pretty strict time restriction here. I ran into the time restriction pretty often playing a Fortitude build with Huma, even then with the damage bonus, but you'll want to basically, this is what pushed me from my earlier runs going defense to getting more of the damage buffs on the blessing runes, just because I just needed more damage in order to clear through. So just make sure you have that ready, get as many as you can. I like the final crit ones, plus the bonus damage to high HP targets. In fact, I picked almost all boss killing damages for this, just to make sure that we clear the boss at level 4 and then level 8. The next thing is to take advantage of the barrels that are all around. They actually do pretty substantial damage to targets, especially if they have an elemental weakness. I've actually found that, like, for this week before it resets, the fire barrels seem to be doing more. I'm not positive if they actually do get a scaler on that, but it is a nice way if you can see enemies stacking up on top of it. It's also a great way to clean off a bunch of small mobs that just give regen orbs to heal yourself up when you're trying to clear it, because it can give you a nice little boost of HP, but also give some nice AoE damage if there's a barrel nearby that you can use. And that's it for Wormhole. I want to make sure that people are kind of clearing this and getting their rewards. It is going to reset soon at the making of this video, and then we'll unlock more and more of these difficulties as we go higher, which will give us more loot, more items in the shop and all that, and you may even make it up onto the ranking boards as well. But don't skip out on Wormhole. It's super worth it. Gives you a lot of rewards, and if you get enough buffs, it's super easy to clear. If you enjoyed yourself today, leave a like down below. You can support me and my work on Patreon and view Patreon exclusive content, link in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.